Hello, I'm Tracy Powers. I'm a relationship and life coach, and I wanted to pop in here. I am in the midst of a 40-day challenge every day giving advice on a topic. Today I wanted to do it live, so thank you for joining me, whoever's here and on the replay. In the future, hi from the past. We've been worried about you, but I have faith in you. So thank you for joining me. I hope you find this topic really relevant and helpful. I think there's some pieces in here to really think about because as human beings, we require connection. It is so important to our survival and our thriving as well. And so here's a few things in answer to a question. How do you find like-minded people to share in the lifestyle you envision? My current connections don't seem to have the time or money for the experiences I want to have, and I'm feeling lonely. So I want to address kind of a couple different prongs of this. One really being the practical, and another being what could get in the way. So I think many of us find ourselves in the position of wanting to expand our circle, wanting to try new experiences, wanting to get to know what else is out there in life and in people. And every person you meet is just a whole planet onto themselves. Is you can find little pieces of you, little pieces of other people, but this is like a rare, special occurrence. Every person you meet, and not everyone is for you, and not everyone will give you the experiences you want to have. But it's important to always have this openness, because really, at the end of the day, how better would our world be if we all were open to seeing more people, meeting more people, and honoring everyone that we can come across. So first, to start with some practical, there's really two ways to get to know more people and expand your community and your connections and your circle of friends. One being to join existing communities and events and go to existing places where people hang out, and the other is to create them for yourself. So you can start by getting the word out with your existing contacts and friends. And I'm really interested in exploring this. Would you be interested in it too? Do you know anyone else who's kind of interested in that as well? Just starting to put your stake in the ground, starting to let people know what matters to you, what you'd like to explore, what type of experiences you would like to have. And that can start having a ripple effect, and people can start to keep that in the back of their minds. People do want to help each other out, and they can start to say, hey, actually, I do know someone, and help make you those connections to find those spaces and places that already exist. You can try new activities, things you haven't done before, but call to you. And it may take a little getting out of your comfort zone, trying new things, it also really requires more than one pass at it. So it's very easy to say, hey, I tried this and I didn't meet anyone, it wasn't for me, and you can check it off your list, but really continuing to try things more than once, to try a lot of different things and put yourself out there. I know it's easy to say and it may be harder to do, but the payoff is worth it. You can create get-togethers that speak to your vibe, and this also can require patience. I'm experimenting with this myself. I want to have some more social interactions with, we've been building amazing women's circles here. My partner Nicolette and I in these women's circles in person after being online for so long. But I also want to have more social experiences. So I'm thinking about if you're a woman around here, you want to come over and play cards. I'm going to put that out there pretty soon and start up some card games because why not, right? So it's creating these opportunities and allowing the patience and the time and riding the wave of momentum. Sometimes it can take a little while to get going, but then once you're there, you can keep riding that wave of momentum. And along the practical side here, this particular person was talking about wanting to go to a restaurant that they felt was out of budget for many of their existing connections, and they didn't really want to go on their own. So there's a lot of practical ways you could go about using that as an example, like contacting the restaurant and seeing if they're open to having a singles event for the meal you want to attend. Maybe they have an email list they'd be willing to put that out for. Maybe they'd be able to put it in people's checks as a flyer that, you know, if you want to come and join this event, you could create a meetup. So there's different ways that you can kind of get into problem solving mode and generate the experience that you're wishing to have. But I want to speak to more what could get in the way and what's likely getting in the way for all of us as we want to build more connections and have different experiences and step outside of our existing circle and you know, get to have, as this person described, you know, people who maybe don't feel as restricted by finances. So wanting to have people in their lives that feel more abundant and more successful and who put a priority on that type of thing. So one thing that I see stand in the way of us making new connections is what we've seen modeled through TV and movies. So let's get real. When you're watching any TV show, any movie, you're only going to see a group of friends, a few close connections that are repetitive through the whole experience. And you don't see these little micro connections. You don't see, you know, the buddy at work who you go out with every once in a while, or the old friend that you call once a year, or how connected you are with your dog walker, or your physical therapist, or all of these little connections that really add and create a rich life. That add to who you are by making these connections. We really don't see them modeled to us. All we see is the group of friends, and you may also see that, you know, on social media, what people post and who they share photos of themselves with. And I think that this can be kind of dangerous. So let's be honest, with TV and movies, they don't have the budget, they don't have the time to show all these other characters. So they're going to stick to just a few and put someone's life just through the lens of just those few connections. So for us to see that, we feel like if we don't have these cradle to the grave friendships, if we don't have these in-depth partnerships, we can feel like maybe we're doing it wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with us. And, you know, there are people out there who do have those big groups of friends and have been able to stay in the same place and build community. It's maybe something that they were born into, that they continue to generate, that they have those capacities. And thank God we have those people, but we aren't all those people. And so if you are blessed to be the person who can build community easily, who does feel like they belong in any space, who does have these lifelong connections, who has really put down roots, I encourage you to scoop some more people up in your wing, and let other new connections and people who might not feel as secure in new connections, just keep a little space in your heart and in your circle to bring us along on your wave of momentum as well. So um, so yeah, I think it's important to remember that that model is just not the model for everyone. And what else can really get in the way of making new connections is looking for perfection, thinking that it has to look a certain way, like maybe this model, and or just really this comes from a fear of getting hurt, from a fear of wasting time, from a fear of um, just feeling like it's not the right fit. And so people will avoid trying new things, meeting new people, because it needs to have a certain depth, it needs to feel right. Um, and instead, we need to be willing to kiss some frogs. And really, any moment of connection exists in the present moment. That's it. We may have relationships, we may have friendships, we have tons of baggage and years, but really that only exists in the present moment. However you spend your time together now, however you are with each other now, that is the relationship. Just those moments of relating. And it's entirely possible to have beautiful moments of relating with someone you will not have a history with someone you will not have a future with, that all you have is this present moment. I know for me, myself, one time I went to Sundance Film Festival to see a film by myself, happened to be on the bus with an older gentleman who just struck up conversation with, ended up inviting me out for tea, and just talked about our lives. And I can remember like a big insight into what was guiding my life and continues to guide my life, from that conversation. That was, I believe I was pregnant with my first child, and I thought about what was guiding me in making choices and the type of mother that I wanted to be, how that related to the way I was mothered, or um, who I wanted to be. And that insight came from that conversation. And we parted ways, never met again, nothing else to that connection, but just being in the present moment with someone who's interesting and has a story to tell. That happened to me once again when I was in away for a training for work, and took myself out to dinner and ended up sitting next to someone at a bar at a restaurant. The stories they told me have triggered my imagination in many ways, and spending that time with that one person who I don't even remember their name, will never see them again, set me actually on a trajectory of my life, that my life would not be the way that it was if I wouldn't have seen what he had gone through, just made a decision for myself in my life, that set me on a path that was who I am today. So just being able to, maybe it is going to that restaurant and talking to someone, and you have no long-term potential for a friendship or partnership or a date or anything, but maybe you just got to meet a widow, and you get to feel the rich and deepness of what that experience is like. And maybe that'll touch your life and your heart in ways you never expected. So that's just a few ways that present moment connection without the search for future connections is so worth it. And I remember working with a coach myself once and saying, I feel like every woman I meet, I walk up to them like the ugly duckling and look at them and think, are you my mother? Are you my potential new best friend? And it puts so much weight and pressure on everything to try and judge them or myself or the energy between us in this moment to see, does it have long-term potential? Is it worth my time? Is it worth my energy? Many of us who have, how many frogs have you had to kiss to meet maybe the person that you ended up in a long-term relationship with? How long maybe did it take, and you expected it to come a little easier, a little sooner, a little more naturally. But how sweet is it, that moment that is worth it at the end of the day, to have continued to try and go on these first dates that were painful or tough or uncomfortable, just to get to the person who we've gotten to have these beautiful present moment connections with. Another thing that can really get in the way is the weight of loneliness. And this person specifically named loneliness as something they're dealing with, and that could be a whole other discussion, a whole other live, a whole other blog post. How do we really deal with the weight of loneliness? And I think so many of us avoid loneliness because of the difficulty of the feeling of it. And not only that, but it's not, seems to be like not totally accepted in our culture that, if you're lonely, there's something wrong with you, there's something you could do to fix it. But loneliness is a emotion, is a feeling, is an experience that we will all feel at some point in our lifetime, if not multiple times, if not daily. It is part of the human experience. So being able to get past the fears of loneliness and the weight of loneliness to generate more connection is key. Another thing that might get in the way is avoiding vulnerability. So especially if we're wanting to look good, we're wanting to say the right thing, do the right thing so that people might like us and want to connect with us, that is actually the thing that gets in the way. Research shows that vulnerability is key to making friendships in the long run, and it's something that needs to take place somewhat early on. And if that's not there, things can't really progress. So many people fear being vulnerable, maybe fear being hurt or fear looking bad, but actually being able to bring ourselves fully to the table is what allows for connection to actually happen. So just a final few thoughts here to sum this up and hopefully inspire you to go out with a new, fresh take on making connections, being in the present moment with people that you maybe didn't expect to get to experience, is try new things, appreciate connections that you have and connections of various kinds. I remember in my 20s, I moved to Boston, moved to a new city on the whole other side of the country, and I made connections with people I would have never expected. And they really fit a purpose for my life at the time. And these are people I could pick up the phone and catch up with, and it's right back where we left off. But I never would have expected them to be who they were and look how it looked, but it really fit a purpose. So just appreciating every connection that you do have and every connection that you will have. Stay open, stay curious, remember to give and take in your relating, and remember to keep your boundaries to promote healthy relating. And most importantly of all, stay connected to yourself. Remember why you're here, who you are, and what you want to experience, and keep that connection to yourself as you make connections to other people. So I hope this was helpful. I think we are all in the space, especially coming out of years of COVID, willing to explore new things, willing to meet new people, and have those beautiful present moment connections. So if this helped you or you feel like it could help someone you know, please share, please like. And if you're interested in making deeper connections and having someone support you on the way, having someone to talk these things out with, maybe provide some healing, bounce things off of, support you and be invested in you, I'd be happy to have a conversation to see if I can help you in a coaching role. So if there's anything else that you'd like me to explore within these 40 days of advice, I'd love to hear it. Shoot me a message, and wherever this finds you, sending you lots of love. Hope you have a wonderful day.